In this video, I'm going to be walking through what I'm currently running in my HomeLab environment. So I run a HomeLab environment out of my house that's kind of more around the crypto side of things. My mining equipment, mining pools, things like that. But I also run some other things. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about what I'm running, why I run it, and just kind of discuss those types of things. So right off the bat, I use Homar. Homar is a dashboard that allows you to put on what they call widgets and categories. So categories are like these little collapsible containers, and they can be anything you want. You can have as many of them as you want. You can resize them. You can do pretty much anything you want. And so what I have is I've got these, and then within those categories or those containers, we've got a bunch of different widgets. So these are actually markdown widgets. And if I put edit, this allows me to do any type of markdown language I want on here, which is really cool. And as we scroll down, you're going to see a bunch of different things. This is a bookmarks widget, which basically gives me a link to these. So if I wanted to just check and see how my storage provider's doing, it takes me right to that dashboard. I can see that it is still on par. It's getting bandwidth. It's online. Everything's good to go with that. Same thing with like the Mysterium nodes. I can just click on this, log in, and then it would show me my stats for my Mysterium nodes that I'm running. Again, these can be kind of any bookmarks you want. If we scroll down to like my actual like HomeLab section, you can see I've got remote access to all of my systems in here. A lot of these are in like Show in a Box or Windows. We'll talk about these in a couple minutes. So those are all there. Same thing with services I'm running, links to mining pools, all of that. So I'm able to do all that with this dashboard. I haven't really talked about this dashboard before, but if you're interested in how to set it up, the various widgets it has, anything like that, drop me a comment below. Let me know. I can definitely cover it in a future video. But kind of at a glance, I've talked about this on the channel before, I have 5 mini PCs that are all routed through 5 different VPS servers at Ionos. And those are being used to run master nodes and to also do kind of traffic routing for all of my storage providers. So we've got one running in Germany, and I will talk about that here in a little bit, the reasoning for that. But we've got one running in Germany and 4 running in the US. So our mini one, we've got an AIOZ node, which I have not talked about on this channel before. If you're interested in that, let me know down in the comments below. I can definitely cover that. This is kind of like an AI compute node, and I'm actually running it on all of my systems. I have talked about FileStation before, kind of running it similar to how you would run FileStation, where it's just kind of running in the background. And if there's any type of bandwidth providing, transcoding, or anything that your system can provide, it will do that. You can still continue to mine with this, so I am running this on pretty much everything. We've got my mining tools. This is my HiveOS Profit Switcher and Auto Exchanging utility, so it's running on here. And then, obviously, we're running a storage provider. I'm running an Innova master node, a GoByte master node, Edel master node, Bonte Coin master node. So those are the master nodes that are currently running on this system. And actually not here, I just spun it up, is a Mariah master node as well. I need to add that to the list. And we can actually do that now, just show you how easy it is to add something. So we're now running a Mariah node. So we can just come in, do Mariah master node, hit save, and it's there now. And then we're running some bandwidth sharing apps, and I've covered this before. We're essentially doing this to try to recoup the cost for all those VPSs. So we're running RePocket, TraffMonetizer, ProxyRack, PacketShare, and Mysterium. If you're interested in those rewards, I have covered those in other recent monthly videos talking about those earnings. And then jumping over to Mini 2, you're going to kind of notice the same thing, minus the RMT mining tools. Everything else is pretty much the same here. And you're going to see the same thing on Mini 3, Mini 4, and Mini 5. Moving on down, I am running storage providers on most of my mining rigs. I run a lot of my mining hardware. I run as just regular towers. Some of those have like 2 to 3 GPUs in them. with Ryzen CPU, and they also have 1 or 2 hard drives in them. So I use those hard drives to provide storage on the storage network routed through the VPN tunnel that Mini 2 is connected to. And this allows me to kind of earn a little bit off of the hard drive that is in that system. It's not a lot, but it will accumulate over time. So if we hop on over to like the NAS one, and we scroll down, we can see like $1.12 a month right now is what we're sitting at. I recently moved this provider around, so my online score dropped down while I was copying data, which took several days to get those terabytes of data copied over. So we did go offline for a little bit, but we are still providing. And today's the 11th, so for the past 11 days, we've earned $1.12. That's not a lot, but it's not costing us really anything extra to do that. We already have the drives, so we are running those in one of each. And that's kind of what you're seeing here. So I've got one on a NAS, and I believe that's the one that I actually pulled up. You can see we are providing 14 terabytes of storage out of the one that's on our NAS, and it's only being utilized for 2.38. And then we've got those 5 mini PCs. They all have a little 2.5-inch hard drive in them, so they were all providing as well. Many of these are very small, like around the 1 terabyte mark. So you can see this one is 0.85 terabyte. It's got a 1 terabyte drive in it. It's using 127. It's got 655 free. And you can see so far we've only earned 4 cents because we're only sharing less than a terabyte there. So it's not a lot. It's only using 127 gigs. But it is getting consistent rewards. So they all kind of add up when put together. Elite Desk 1 and 2, these are older HP Elite desks that I'm running. These both have a RTX 3050 in them, I believe. And they are providing storage. They're also doing mining and providing compute on Clore. Tower 1, Tower 2, Tower 3, Tower 4. These are all GPU mining rigs that are on Hive OS, mainly mining Kapow. Moving down, we've got our Mysterium nodes, which we've briefly talked about. And then moving down to the HomeLab section. So I have what I call a mini server. I'm actually running pretty much my whole HomeLab on one of 2 systems. Either it is on this actual mini PC that has a 4-core, 4-thread N100 in it with 16 gigs of RAM, or running on a Synology NAS. So I've kind of broken that down into 2 parts. So on the mini server, we're running AIOZ node. We're running YIMP, which is some mining pool software. We're running NOMP, which is also a different mining pool software. We're also running Mining Core, which is a third mining pool software. The combination of the 3 of these pretty much allow me to solo mine any coin that I want for the most part. We're running a Postgres database server. We're running a web admin dashboard for the Postgres database. We are also running some bandwidth sharing apps here. So we're running PacketStream, EarnApp, RePocket, TraffMonetizer, ProxyRack, also Mysterium. We're also running Watchtower on this, and Watchtower is used to auto-update Docker containers anytime a new release happens. We're also running an Asterix node and the Asterix Stratum bridge. Currently solo mining Asterix with my FPGAs. We're running a Vertcoin node. We're running a Grotzelcoin node. Again, these are all being used for solo mining. Same thing with Innova. And then we're running our 5 instances of FileStation. I've talked about this before. We've been running these for well over a year. We're running Homar, which is the dashboard I'm showing you right now. It runs in Docker. We're also running Dozzle, which allows us to view logs of our HomeLab server through the web UI. We're running Watch Your LAN. And this is it's a web dashboard, but it's also a service that runs and constantly monitors your network. And anytime a new device pops up on your network, it can actually notify you. This is really useful if you're adding like a new ASIC to your network, anything like that. And you don't want to have to install like a third-party app just to figure out what the IP address is. And do it all through a web dashboard. Coin Monitor. This is a custom app that I built for my YouTube members that is posted in the members only section of my Discord, that it will scrub the internet from various sources, and anytime a new mineable coin is launched and listed, it will post a message to that Discord channel. So that is actually running from this HomeLab server. And then we've got no VNC running. I've actually just spun up a third one. So let's go ahead and add that in here. So I'm running Docker containers for no VNC that will actually allow you, and I'm going to show you how this works in a minute, but this will allow us to connect to a Windows system that's on our local network without using the RDP session. Why this is important is if you're providing on Salad, this will allow you to remotely control that system without the Salad service crashing, because it can't handle the terminal sessions protocol. And then on our Synology NAS, I'm running another instance of my mining tools, which is my auto exchanger. I'll talk about why in a minute. We are running Plex for media management, TV shows, movies, things like that. Radar, which is kind of like a movie downloader. Sonar is a TV show downloader. SabNZBD is a Usenet downloader. Prowler is a Usenet and torrent indexer, where we can provide it index sources, and ultimately it is used by Sonar and Radar to go out and find TV shows, movies, things like that. We are also running a VM, actually on the Synology NAS for storage, and that's what this is. I'm not running the storage process directly on my NAS. I'm actually running it in a VM that is being hosted on my NAS, and there are specific security reasons for that. The other thing that is not listed here is I am also running ROM, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That is ROM Manager. Before I talk about the services, just want to talk about the remote access section. This is all various servers that I'm running. Some of these are mining rigs. Some of these are like the HomeLab server. And then we've got the no VNCs in here as well. And what this allows me to do, again, this is kind of like that bookmarks. It allows me to just jump right into it. So if I wanted to SSH into my HomeLab server, I can just click on this, log in, and I'm logged in. I can do anything I want. Same thing with these. So if I wanted to just connect to, let's say one of those window boxes like Miner Blade 3, just click on it. This is no VNC. You can see this one's actually running Rainbow Miner at the moment. So we are hashing away on a Zealous v2 PeppyW, which is a kind of a forked algo of Zealous that is somewhat profitable right now in CPUs. So we're mining on that, but this, you can kind of see this is using VNC to throw us into the VM. So this is putting you in, or it's not VM, it's physical hardware, but it's throwing you in there as if you are sitting right in front of the system. And so you've got your clipboard, you've got access to files, anything like that. And so you still have full control over it, but it is through a web dashboard. It's not remote desktop. It's not remotely using the RDP protocol. And this is using purely VNC, but it's allowing us to do it all through a web front end on our local network. All these other ones are just other systems. Like I said, some of these are mining rigs, some of these are those mini PCs. They all vary. And then down here, I've got just bookmarks to my miners. So my Osprey E300s. I've got 4 KSO Pros, the links there, a couple ByteLixir miners, my Ant router. And again, you just click on these and it will take you right to that login dashboard. We could just, quickly do a login here and validate that everything is up and hashing away. And you can see currently running at 233 gigahash. Everything looks good. This specific miner has been up for 48 days. So obviously no problems there. But this is kind of everything at a quick glance. And it allows us an easy way to manage everything without having spreadsheets for IP addresses, things like that. And then down at the bottom, I've also got like these bigger button links to take me to those various apps. So if I want to go to Plex, I can just come here and click on Plex. Same thing with Zebben, ZBD, Radar, Sonar, or Prowlar. Now, before I talk about the notes section, let's go back and talk about the services section. So this is kind of my links of, these are various apps that I'm running. So a lot of these are going to be based around mining, but these are things I may need to log into these dashboards to manage things. I talked about I'm running 2 copies of my mining tools. And the reason I'm doing this is if we hop in and we hop on over to the auto exchanging section, what you can see is I've actually got an auto exchanging section set up for CoinEx. CoinEx is not allowed in the United States. However, if you have an account and you connect to it using a international IP, everything works fine. So one of those VPSs I talked about earlier that Mini1 is connected to is actually connected to the VPS is actually running in Germany. So we have a VPN tunnel through that. So this mining tools instance I use for any exchange that I want to use for auto exchanging that is not legal within the US. So if they block US activity, I use this for that. It's pretty much CoinEx and KuCoin are really the only 2 examples for the most part. And then I have a second instance that's running on my HomeLab server. Now this one we're actually using for like Zegax and other exchanges like that. So you can see this one, we're currently doing a lot of buy and sell bots here for a privacy masternode coin. And that's what's happening here is I'm actually mining. The way this is working is I'm mining with the KS0s, mining Cedra. That is going direct to the Zegax exchange. And then my mining tools is then taking that and auto converting that to USDT, and then from USDT to the PRCY token. And you can see we've got Trade Ogre set up in here, and we've got Zegax set up in here. I was kind of doing the same things, doing auto exchanging, but that other instance is just for exchanges that aren't available in the US. Then we've got our Rainbow Miner server. So I do run a Rainbow Miner server. I run a client server model for Rainbow Miner. So this allows me to centrally manage all the configs. Right now, I only have a couple of the blade miners on here. Everything else is configured through HiveOS right now. I'm doing a lot of mining to mining Dutch with Kapal, which is working out really well. So right now, those aren't connected to Rainbow Miner, but rather I'm direct mining those. And then we've got our YIMP mining pool. So we can click here, jump straight over. You can see I'm running Digibyte on that. And then we've got the NOMP mining pool where we've got Groto coin and Innova. And you can see Groto I actually have on. My Bicles are on mining Dutch right now. I'm not solo mining at the moment with those. But when I do, a lot of times during the bear market, I will switch back to this pool, solo mine with those to stack coins throughout the bear market. Right now, we're kind of in a really up cycle. And so I am mining with those 2 mining Dutch and having them kind of auto swap to some coins. That my plan is that I'm actually going to use those to acquire some more hardware. So right now they're mining into coins that I can actually use as a payment rail to acquire more hardware. On the Innova, I've got FPGAs on this. You can see we've hit, we're getting upwards of 15,000 blocks since we've set this up. So overall, this has been working pretty well. We actually have 4 pending blocks right now. And then scrolling down, mining core. So we're running instant mining core. You can see I've got a Vertcoin pool and a Warthog pool here. Vertcoin, we've hit 53 blocks here. We just kind of leave. I've got a 8-card RX 562 gig rig. We just leave it on here and let it hit blocks, which generally we're pretty consistent with our blocks, maybe 1 every other day or so. You can kind of see the average effort here straight down the list. Overall, it's been really good. We've only had a couple that are over 100%, and the rest have been relatively good. So this has been pretty decent to me. Oh, we kind of keep up with that. Any Kapal coins or anything that we want to solo mine, occasionally I will add them to here. but for now, that's what we're working with. Postgres admin. This is the admin portal for managing the Postgres database that Mining Core uses. So that is just a web dashboard for that. Dozzle. This is, again, these are logs for the Docker containers for my HomeLab server. So if we wanted to see like what the file station log looks like, we can pop in file station 2. You can see this one, our pending rewards are 0.05 Filecoin. Same thing with 1. It just gives you a quick glance. We can see we got 0.03 on this one. A quick glance of those logs without having to remote into the system and run Docker log commands. Watch your LAN. Again, this is that monitoring tool that monitors our network and tells us anytime a new device comes online. So these are the KS0s, and you can label them as well in here. So I can come in, like I know this one was KS0 Pro 1, so I actually can hit edit names, and I can fill in the names there. So if I knew that 71 was our KS Pro 2, I could put that in, and then we'll clear that out. When you hit edit names, it will automatically save. But this kind of gives you a listing of everything that is connected on your network, and you can sort by the date on here. So anything newly added will show obviously at the top, and the older stuff will show at the bottom. So this is a good way to see kind of when things have come online if you're trying to set up new hardware. And then the last thing in the services section is ROM-M. So this is a ROM manager. So I have a collection of retro video game ROMs, and this basically is a Docker container you can run that will monitor your ROM files and give you this nice UI broken out by system. So if we hop into like Sega CD as an example, this will actually show you all the files, all the games that I have in those folders. So if we want to like Three Ninjas, and then you can actually play it from here. So you get hit play, it'll actually launch a web-based emulator, and you can play that game all from within this dashboard. It uses some APIs to scrub all the metadata. So it brings in the screenshots, the cover art, anything like that. If you have save states or anything like that, that is all in here as well. So you've got your save states, you'll have screenshots, all of that information is in here. It's a really nice platform for managing your games. You can see up here we don't have screenshots or save states really in here, but you can see currently have 6,623 games across 11 platforms. These are kind of the big platforms that are supported on the Polymega, and so that's what we are working with here. But this is a nice setup to have, and the other thing I like about it is it doesn't just support original official ROMs, it supports newer third-party games as well. So if we go to N64, you can see 4D Winx is in here, which actually wasn't released in the US as a real game, but it was completed later. It's kind of a third-party newer title for the N64, and it picks up the artwork and everything for it. So this is really cool to see. And if you scroll down, this game was actually released on the PS1. So they actually have the trailer here, and you can just click and watch the trailer. So really cool setup. So we're running that as well. And then moving down to the last section. So these are kind of a note section that I have that will allow me to put in just things as they come up. These might be Docker commands for things that, I just want to run, things I want to remember that I might use periodically in the future. Some of these are, maybe I was testing on a Docker image, I liked it, maybe I'm going to do a video on it in the future. These are just kind of notes that I jot down. And this is using that same markdown widget that these other ones are using. But you notice it's bigger. It's because we have that flexibility to resize it. So if I go into edit mode, and I can actually take this, I can shrink it, to half the width. I can make it, 3/4 of the width. I can make it 2/3. Like, you can take it down and make it as wide as you want and as tall or as small as you want. And it'll put its own scroll bar inside of it. so you don't have to worry about that too much. But let's just go ahead and leave edit mode. And so you can see I've got some Docker container commands in here. So for no VNC, if I was going to spin up like a new MinerBlade server, like when I get to MinerBlade 4, I know that this is the Docker command I need to run. Just replace my port number with it, replace my password with whatever the password is for VNC on Windows, and I'm good to go. Same thing here. If I want to spin up a Windows VM, I may cover this in a future video. You can run, I did figure out a way to run a full Windows install in Docker. And so I may cover this soon in a future video, but this is the command to do that. Same thing with a Linux VM. So previously I covered like how to do a light image. This is actually how to do a full-blown install of Linux like a Linux VM into Docker. The light mode, I actually need to plug in that command here. Umbrel. I'll probably be doing a video on Umbrel in the future as well on how to create your own Bitcoin node with Umbrel and your own mining pool, public pool that will work with like BitX devices, nerd miners, low difficulty devices. Homar, if you wanted to run Homar, this is the command to do that. And then down here I have other commands. So things like AIOZ node. So commands to create the private key, and then how to use the private key for the actual compute providing, and then if you want to withdraw the rewards, the commands for those. These are just kind of like quick commands that I might use every now and then, but I may just not remember off the top of my head. BC edit is a prime example of that. So this is if you've ever booted up Windows and you had like a hard power cycle or anything like that, and it tries to go into recovery mode. This actually disables that recovery mode on boot failures. So you could basically say if there was a power failure, just bypass that screen, just go right back into Windows. I run this on all my Windows mining rigs. Chasm is workspaces for Docker. This is kind of a Docker layer, but it installs itself. But as of right now, that's kind of a high level of things that I am running in my home lab.